Good evening, folks. This is the Factivist Report for Sunday, the 5th of November. So, tonight, we're going to talk about how MAGA continues to gum up the governmental works. We're talking about Mike Johnson, MAGA Mike Johnson.
Right.
Once again, we're going to have, this is like the part 2 of where we started on Thursday when we put up the first. And let me just say this right now. Next week, we're back on the Heritage Foundation and the Constitution. That's an important discussion. We're back on that. But this is important too, because this is all tied in with the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 and the way they envision the budget. And it's important that you understand that this is the way MAGA envisions the budget, okay? And they are right now gumming up the governmental works once again. So I'm going to turn this over to Dave.
All right. So, and again, all of this ties in together. We have Mike Johnson, who has shown us where he is ideologically. But pragmatically, it's very hard to do the right thing, but to do the thing that no one wants and push it through, it's harder than you think. So I believe Mike Johnson is finding out exactly what, be careful what you wish for. Because when you get it, you might not be ready for it. Let's just put it that way.
Let me just say this: he is so inexperienced.
Right.
It really is just about that. All right. He really has no clue what he's doing. All they knew was that they wanted someone MAGA in the speaker's position, someone who was 10 times worse than Kevin McCarthy.
Right.
And it didn't matter if this guy knew what the fuck he was doing. Because they
ideologically, he's a hardliner.
Right.
So this is from Politico magazine, 55 things you need to know about Mike Johnson. I'm not reading all of this, but I want you guys to see this. According to Anna Canizales and Michael Caros. This is from last week, 10/26/23. There are a bunch of points here, but I want to go to point number 6 real quick. He is the least experienced Speaker of the House in 140 years. Ideologically, he is where a lot of the hardliners want him to be. Also, a lot of the moderates in the Republican Party coalesced or just kind of gave up and said, okay, you can have this guy because we're close enough in the votes and we can control this or whatever.
Really? I think
exactly.
You know what? Let me just say this. I'm gonna stick a knife right in there today.
Yeah.
Right. Those goddamn cowards.
Yes.
Voted him fucking in.
Right.
They are not going to control him. There is no controlling MAGA when you have a bunch of cowards sitting behind him. Okay? They're cowards. Okay? They're cowards.
Johnson's first
move.
Yep. He's going to stick with the hardliners. Okay? This is from the Washington Post. Ideologically, this is where he is.
He's so arrogant.
Yeah.
I just.
However, he really doesn't. I thought in the beginning, oh well, he'll know how to manage the message and all of that. Well, Hakeem Jeffries has a slogan. People over politics, with the DNC. In a memo, this is from the Business Insider, Speaker Mike Johnson refuses to put people over politics. an apparent typo in fundraising email. No, it's not a typo.
Not a typo.
It's what-
It's not a typo, folks. It's not a typo.
when you look at every single thing that he is about, slashing Social Security and Medicare, defunding anything having to do with abortion rights, defunding hospitals that train people how to deal with someone, who wants to get an abortion. By the way, he was supposedly an abortion counselor, but he basically, in all honesty, he was anti-abortion and he tried to bully people into not getting them. So just this is where he is. This is Hakeem Jeffries. Okay. People over politics. Remember all of these bills: the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Chips and Science Act, Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. That's the gun policy.
All of these, by the way, done under Biden.
Right. And voted against by the Republicans.
Absolutely.
Now, this is actually pretty amazing. I don't know where Mike Johnson is coming from in terms of what he thinks people will catch, won't catch, or whatever. But immediately when he did this, people called him out for it. When he tied the Israel aid to slashing the IRS. The budget lie at the heart of House Speaker Johnson's Israel aid proposal. The bottom line is, if you slashed aid to the IRS, in the long run, you would lose money.
Do you know why they want to slash aid to the IRS?
I do, actually, but go ahead.
They want to slash aid to the IRS because the money that Joe Biden gave to the IRS, the $89 million,
Yeah,
was to go after tax cheats who make over $400,000 a year and up.
right.
That's why.
Absolutely. So
you know what? If you're worried about income inequality and the rich paying their fair share, and you're bitching about Joe Biden, well, then maybe you're a Republican, or maybe you should become MAGA.
right. This is from Michael Hiltzik, business columnist for the LA Times. It's from November 3rd. So basically saying that Mike Johnson, his view of American voters and the press as dimwits to be gulled is becoming clearer with every day. Case in point, his proposal to advance $14.3 billion in aid to Israel by offsetting it with a $14.3 billion cut in the budget of the IRS.
Does that even make any sense to you?
No.
So you're going to give $14.3 billion in aid to Israel. You're going to cut an equivalent amount out of a completely unrelated group of people who serve a function in the government.
Now, the truth is, anyone with the merest understanding of IRS funding knows that the cut in the agency's budget will open a vastly larger hole in the federal budget because in its scoring of Johnson's proposal, the Congressional Budget Office estimated that the $14.3 billion IRS cut would reduce federal revenues by $26.8 billion in 10 years.
You know,
you have to spend money to generate revenue.
He's got no clue what he's doing.
No.
Or he has a clue what he's doing, and he's just an asshole. One of the other.
He's just winging it.
Or both.
So this is what Mike Johnson said. Only in Washington, when you cut spending, do they call it an increase in the deficit. Yes, when you are cutting the budget of an agency whose sole purpose is to collect revenue, tax revenue. And Deb's absolutely right. That's why he wanted to cut it, because his constituents are, rich guys in Washington. He's afraid that these guys are going to get regulated or, have to pay more. So, just one more story about the Vanity Fair. GOP funding Israel aid by gutting the IRS is just us being good stewards of the taxpayers' resources. Really?
Oh, you're such a. I can't even. Don't even start me. Don't.
This is something that he's talking about. Looking at a way to think outside the box. He wants laddering. He wants different things to come up for budget votes at different times. So he wants to split all the budget votes in a billion pieces so people don't know what the hell's going on. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? Go to hell.
Right.
Seriously.
He has proposed a CR continuing what's called a continuing resolution, basically kicking the can down the road to extend funding through January 15th, which is Martin Luther King Day. So he wants people to work on Martin Luther King Day. In my head. But he's talking about splitting different budget deadlines all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
where's Lee Harvey Oswald?
This is the GOP adding riders to different spending bills in the budget. GOP adds social policy riders to House Labor HHS education spending bill. Now, I go back to I talked about the Heritage Foundation talking about separating church and state when it came to funding. It's like, well, you can't really punish a religious school, blah, blah, blah. Well, now here we go. The Senate has not yet announced when it will bring its labor HHS education bill to the floor. The Senate Appropriations Bill advanced its bill on July 27th. The revised bill includes a rider. It's basically an attachment to the bill that would prevent fiscal 2024 appropriations from going to any hospital or other organization that runs a postgraduate physician training program, such as a residency that provides training to refer, assist in, counsel, or perform abortions if the program mandates abortion training or penalizes a student who opts out of abortion training. Okay. This goes back to that whole argument. You want to not fund that particular program? I disagree with that, but that's one thing. Defunding an entire hospital, that contradicts their entire argument about separating morality.
Let me just say this.
Go ahead.
This is untenable.
No.
It's untenable because
it's not tenable.
Because abortion is a healthcare issue. Some women need an abortion to stay alive. Okay? But this is just outrageous. It really just is outrageous. It's the outer limits to me of fascism right here. You are going to stop training people in something that is vital for them to know in order to be able to care for people properly based on ideological fucking pandering. to right-wing fucking religious zealots. That's exactly what this is.
This right now is, first off, whether it's legal or not, to me is beside the point. It's a personal sovereignty issue, and it's nobody's business. But you're talking about punishing hospitals for providing training to a legal procedure, to a medical procedure, to help people live. All right. So, and people are going to say, well, Dave, what does it matter? This is the House. It's never going to pass in the Senate. No, you're pushing this stuff forward. You're making it part of the conversation. This shouldn't even be part of the conversation, which is what Deb's saying is untenable.
It shouldn't even be discussed. This shouldn't even be part of the fucking government discussion.
No, it shouldn't.
And then that's the first thing. Don't you get it? This is on the table now. It's on the fucking table. You let them win in 2024, and this is more than on the table. And there are no safe states in the United States of America. Massachusetts, Michigan, wherever you have a safe state, you will no longer have that. You people need to really understand what's going on here, because honestly, Mike Johnson's victory was another major coup and another major victory for MAGA. Whether you want to face it or not, the man holding the gavel is Donald Trump. Okay? Period. End of story.
By the way, once again, we said it in the other show, Ohio, go to the polls and vote on the constitutional amendment in your state to codify abortion rights.
And believe me, we're going to be watching the percentage of registered Democrats that show up in all of these states.
Yeah.
I mean it.
If you do not vote and you are in Ohio, you have no room to complain.
And by the way,
there's a trigger law
show up
coming
at 52% again, anybody can win. That's not good enough.
This article is from Fast Company. House Speaker Mike Johnson thinks abortion access costs the economy able-bodied workers. What do you think having an unwanted pregnancy will do with the workforce?
What do you think having a child who requires 24-hour care because he's physically compromised is going to do to the workforce? I mean, people, I swear to God, they pull this information out of their ass. They really have no data to support any of it. None of it. And they count on you not needing to see the data, just so you understand that. You don't ask for it, you don't get it, and they haven't got it to show you anyway.
And as abortion advocates have long argued, the data is clear. Access to abortion care empowers more people to remain in the workforce. And you're seeing it also in the military, which we'll talk about in a minute, by Pavitra Mohan of Fast Company. This is 10/25/23, okay? And make no mistake, by the way, again, states' rights, that's a fallacy when the Republicans talk about states' rights, because if enough people speak up and say, hey, we want the right to choose what we want to do with our own bodies, what do the Republicans come back with? A national abortion ban.
They will. They're
already talking about it.
It's already written. It's written. It's written.
So, without adequate federal funding for childcare, many parents across the country are forced to choose between staying in the workforce and taking care of their children, a burden that disproportionately falls on mothers. That much was made clear by the pandemic, which shuttered childcare centers across the country and drove millions of women out of the workforce. As for the impact to the economy, abortion restrictions at the state level have reportedly cost more than $105 billion annually. That was before the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. All right. Now, when Lindsey Graham speaks up and talks about and talks rationally, that's scary. So Republicans confront Tom Tuberville over military holds and extraordinary showdown on the workroom on the Senate floor. Sorry.
Can I just say something here?
Yeah.
I'm tired of. Can you just go back? The word extraordinary.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the fucking mainstream media. How long has this asshole been allowed to just go on his merry way, messing everything up, and the Republicans have been sitting there like this? Gee, I hope he changes his mind real soon. I mean, people are just cowards, all right? I'm just saying it, all right?
61. He turned down 61 appointments.
All because of abortion, okay? Yep. All because of abortion. There's nothing else that matters to the GOP except a total ban on abortion. Get that through your heads.
Why are we putting holds on war heroes? Now, all right, I'm not getting into all that. I asked Republican Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska, himself a colonel in the U.S. Marine Corps Reserve. I don't understand. Yeah. Then you have Lindsey Graham say, you denied this woman a promotion. You denied her, along with the 60 other people. Okay.
And by the way, you caused somebody to have a heart attack because of overwork. That's why this is all being brought up now. Because the fact of the matter is that the military families have been complaining about the hardship. That's number one. And number two, this guy, I believe he was in the Marines, has been working from 5:30 in the morning till 11:30 at night, and his body finally rejected it, okay? That's why this is being talked about now. If none of this shit ever happened, Tommy Tuberville would be allowed to continue on his merry way because, honestly, the GOP is full of the ones who want MAGA, they're cowards. That's the way I look at them. Where the hell has Mitch McConnell been in all of this?
He was in the bathroom.
Yeah.
But
hiding behind the sofa.
Right. These issues have consequences. You're affecting the military, you're affecting the labor force, and long term, by the way. Oh, here we go. Now we're talking about Social Security and Medicare. Here's why Social Security and Medicare advocates fear Mike Johnson's sponsorship. He's talking about creating a committee to investigate or to research how to cut Medicare and Social Security benefits. Benefits, by the way, which we pay into every year that we work.
By the way, this ballooning spending that they're using, actually, Medicare and Social Security has managed to control their costs pretty nicely.
Yep.
Okay? We're ballooning spending elsewhere.
Such as Donald Trump's multi-trillion-dollar spending spree on billionaire tax cuts.
Yeah, which, by the way, the GOP has already got a bill written for that, and they want to make those tax cuts permanent. So just stop. already.
This is an article there's an opinion article by a couple of guys. One was a lecturer at Stanford Business, another guy at Irving Brookings Tax Policy Center, talking about the burden that older people are putting on the young workers.
Go away.
I'm just saying it's an argument, but
The young workers. We're putting a burden on the young workers
There we
who
go.
don't show up for their shifts. Is
Right.
that what I'm supposed to worry about? Me, 70 years old. I work 34 hours a week. I was only out the time I had COVID. Okay. That's the only time I've ever been out sick. I've never missed a shift. I'm never late. I got kids that can't show up for their shifts every fucking week. And I'm going to work longer so that they can have more money. Oh, I don't think so. No, sir. Nope.
So this is okay.
Nope.
This explains how much money we put in on a yearly basis. We contribute to our own Social Security benefits and
they
Medicare.
Are not entitlements.
They're not
benefits.
On average. I think I saw a figure like 528,000 is what a normal worker would earn. So over their lifetime, Social Security's old age, survivor, and disability insurance program limits the amount of earnings subject to taxation for a given year. Same annual limit also applies when those earnings are used in a benefit computation. The amount is also commonly referred to as taxable, the taxable maximum. The base is $168,600.
So hold on. Stop right there.
Yep.
The base is $168,600, whether your name is Elon Musk,
right,
or Joe Shit the Ragman. Okay.
Right.
So I earn $24,000 a year working at Ace Hardware.
Right.
Right. And Elon Musk earned $5 billion last year, but his Social Security tax rate is the same as mine. Got it? See how that works?
Set by statute at 6.2% for employees and employers each. Thus, an individual with wages equal to or larger than $168,000 will contribute $10,453 to the OASDI program in 2024.
So, while we're talking about all of this here, all these gyrations so that we can make Social Security more solvent, all these things the GOP wants to do. Oh, you're old. You should work longer and take less money. Bernie Sanders has the solution. He's had the solution. Lift the cap for billionaires and millionaires. How's that? Why should Elon Musk be paying at a 6.2% cap so he can get Social Security money when he fucking retires? Explain that to me. Okay? No.
So as Deb was saying, actually, this is Social Security benefits will increase by 3.2% in 2024. As inflation goes up a little bit, the benefits go up. All right.
They went up a lot. We got a good increase last year.
Right.
We did.
It's
bigger than this one. Last year was bigger, but that's okay.
Right. It's a cost of living adjustment or a COLA.
Right. So just so everyone understands, I'm going to get an extra $59 a month. Right.
That's what we're talking about, is an extra $60 a month. Oh my God, it's ballooning spending.
It's ballooning spending, yeah. And in the meantime, I'm paying Mike Johnson salary. We are all paying Mike Johnson salary who wants to cut our Social Security. And by the way, can I just say this? That affects everybody in the fucking country, whether you're a Republican or whether you're a Democrat. I know that not all Republicans in America are rich. I know people think that, but that's not the case. I know there are plenty poor Donald Trump supporters. They come into my fucking store every single week. All right. So if you're intelligent, you're upset if you're a Republican.
This is what we're talking about. Retired workers and dependents $1,837 average monthly benefit. Disabled workers independents, 1,486 average monthly benefit. And Republicans are talking about raising the age where you can start collecting, or raising
70?
the maximum retirement age or minimum retirement age, blah, blah, blah.
Why they want to raise it to 70?
Yeah, I believe they're talking about tiering it. I think it was 67.
Oh, well, I'm 70, so I can retire twice
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
You know,
You know.
let me just say this. See that 1837 average monthly benefit?
Yep.
That doesn't even cover my rent. Do we understand each other here? I'm tired of hearing about the Republicans and their Social Security fetish. All right. They need to be dumped. Seriously.
And before I get off this topic, and the articles will talk about it, when you have someone collecting Social Security and those benefits are reduced or cut, what are you doing? You're affecting the family members who have to support them as well. So again, you're affecting everyone. And you're also affecting the Republicans' voter base.
Let's face it, the GOP doesn't give a shit about their voter base.
No, they don't.
So let's not get ridiculous.
But they want to, it's kind of like the whole boiling frog, argument. They don't want to throw the frog in the pan. They don't want to lift the veil up too quickly people until after the election when they're already voted in.
Right.
Kind of like, what DeSantis did. This is in terms of the SNAP program. This is food stamps. Okay.
Oh, let's stop some people now while we're at it.
Yep, this is a huge talking point for the Republicans. We need to cut this. It's bloated, poor people going out and getting lobster, that whole thing.
That's bullshit.
Yep, it is.
That's absolute bullshit. Now,
what Mike Johnson is starting to realize is that his compatriots, if you would, whatever, his co-workers are telling, wait, stop, because we're in an agricultural state and our farmers depend on this program. They already made a deal with Biden, okay, to raise the employment qualification or requirements rather,
which I thought was ridiculous.
The reality is that unemployment isn't really the problem. It's the gig economy and underemployment. The majority of people taking this are underemployed. They're not unemployed. But the debt ceiling bill will make it more difficult for certain people to collect food stamps. But this is an article by NBC News, Jasmine Wee and J.J. McCorvey, June 2nd of this year. Who receives food benefits? It may not be who you think. Nearly 4 out of 5 households in the SNAP program have at least one person working. It is underemployment, not unemployment. Correct. Which is why Joe Biden, although he knew it was going to affect some people, he added veterans and homeless people to this program. It actually added cost to it. So they're actually paying more into the program than they were before. This is just talking about the farm bill that has to come forward. This is what I was talking about when you have House reps from the GOP coming to Mike Johnson and saying, before you touch SNAP, let's work out the farm bill first.
How about this? Don't touch SNAP. How's
Right.
that?
But before that, this is GOP House appropriators say the Interior must do more with less. Now, this is Deb Haaland. Okay, she's the Interior Secretary. This is Rep. Brian Zinke telling the Interior, the Native American Interior Secretary, that their differences aren't like cowboys and Indians.
What a fucking idiot. I mean, what, I honestly have never hated a group of people like I hate the Republican Party now. I really do.
Now, we just talked about SNAP. SNAP is related to the Farm Bill. Farmlands and agriculture, they are directly linked to who? Deb Haaland and the Secretary of the Interior. Everything is connected. Everything.
By the way, they're trying to reduce her salary to $1 like they did to the head of whatever it is.
Well, they're talking about it. It's a talking point.
Yeah, it's a talking point. Yeah.
Again,
that's what they're talking about. We'll cut people's salaries. How about we cut their fucking salaries?
Or force Madison Cawthorn to pay back what give him a letter of demand for the time that he wasn't in his office doing his job.
You mean for the whole last year he was?
For the whole last year of his
he was in
of his term. Just saying, or give Kim Davis a letter of demand for when she wouldn't do her job.
Right.
Back in the day. If you remember, her entire job was providing marriage licenses. She refused to provide marriage licenses to a specific group of people. That is, people who wanted to marry their gay partner. When gay marriage was legal in that state. You don't do your job, you don't get paid. Now, this is I understand that this isn't Mike Johnson, but this is just more Republican GOP talking points, talking about give Deb Haaland $1 salary, by the way, which is a violation of labor law. So Representative Mike Simpson, an Idaho Republican, called out Ralph Norman, a South Carolina Republican, talking about lowering Deb Haaland's salary to $1, and so what Mike Simpson said was, well, if Deb Haaland did anything wrong, then that would have been okay. I would have been cool with it, but it doesn't look like she was just doing her job. And then people are like, well, if she likes her job so much, why doesn't she do it for free? Would you do your job for free?
Oh, I don't know. Why don't they do their job for free? They're public servants.
Exactly. So finally, where's all this stuff coming from about the bloated social programs, blah blah blah? We're going to go back to the Heritage Foundation. We're going to be talking about this next week. Why America needs a balanced budget amendment.
No, they don't.
All about how the Democrats spend on bloated programs, Social Security, Medicare. As we said, not an entitlement program. We pay into that.
As we said, as the Republicans give tax cuts to billionaires, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any more bullshit from them.
And remember, perfect segue, remember this. $4.7 trillion of debt into law. And Where was the Heritage Foundation? Where was Mike Johnson? Where were the GOP detractors talking about the bloated spending of Donald Trump? Nowhere. The budget for the GOP is a hammer because they know that people on the Democratic side, a lot of them need support. Now, part of why Trump's budget was so bloated was because of his billionaire tax cuts. Who needs aid more? Someone struggling to feed their kids, or
A billionaire.
Elon Musk?
You know, and by the way, for all of you people out there on the right who are going to use COVID as a reason to excuse Donald Trump's debt problem, he had signed this into debt before all of the COVID shit. He had built up a debt way before COVID even had an impact. Way before that. That's a bunch of shit.
This is $4.7 trillion. We were talking about what, 13 billion for Israel aid, and I haven't even spoken about aid to the Ukraine yet. All right. From what I remember, there was somewhere talked about protecting us from all threats, foreign and domestic. Okay, Hamas is evil, and it needs to be contained and stopped as much as possible. But so is a despot in Russia trying to take away the sovereignty of a nation.
Ultimately what Vladimir Putin is trying to do is reconstruct the Soviet Union, the Soviet bloc. Just so you understand that. You want to go back there again? Do you? Because that's his goal. That is his goal. He never wanted any of that glasnost bullshit to begin with. He was a KGB agent. All right? He didn't want any of that. Understand that. And as far as Hamas is concerned, okay, they were made the government for Gaza. Who do you think put them in power? Gang. Hamas is a terrorist organization. It's on every single nation's terrorist organization list. It is not a benevolent group, and it is not a legitimate government. They do not give a shit about the people in Gaza. They care about their own agenda, which is dictated by Iran and the Soviet Union. Vladimir Putin.
And for those in Manhattan and New York City, crossing a bridge and protesting today, God bless you. And I agree that we need to help all people, including the people in Gaza, escape from being killed. There are a couple of practical questions. Where are these people going to go and all of that? But I agree with all of it.
There's only one solution to this. This is never going to end until there's a two-state solution. They don't need to go anywhere. They need to learn how to live together. They're going to have to determine how that's going to happen. The only solution to this is two-state. This will settle down, and then in another couple of years, this will happen again. This has been going on since time immemorial. None of this is new. None of this is new. All right. Do I agree? I have a problem with the Israeli government, but in no way do I believe that it was okay for Hamas to take 1,300 innocent people and kill them. And do I think, you know what? You want a ceasefire? Israel's position is no ceasefire until you release the hostages. release the hostages. I haven't got a solution to this problem. I don't.
Right.
That's the problem. The problem is they need to find the solution. People calling, I'm seeing on Twitter, Genocide Joe. This isn't Joe Biden's problem. He's not committing genocide here. All right? That's not Joe Biden's problem.
And can we please stop with the blaming of one politician or another because of their position or because of their criticism of one side or another?
You're going to have
terms of, I know it's going to happen, but if you don't vote for one person or another against a Republican because of their stance on the Israeli government or their stance, as long as I will not vote for anybody who supports Hamas, obviously, but other than that, if you're critical of the Israeli government, okay, they're not perfect, and you have every right to complain about civil rights or rights violations by the Israeli government. Deb and I have always talked about, okay. BDS, boycotting Israeli products because of what they do, whatever
you want to do. But let me just explain something to you. Joe Biden has no control over what Israel does. None. That's not his country. Okay.
Right.
He can't dictate to Benjamin Netanyahu what to do. And as far as you're concerned, none of you really even know what they're doing.
Right.
They have floated a ceasefire several times. Benjamin Netanyahu's response to Joe Biden was, this isn't a time for a ceasefire. This is a time for war. You know what?
Right.
I don't know what you want people to do, but I have a problem here. What's going on in the United States right now is your concern, your direct concern,
right.
Not what's going on in Gaza, what's going on right here. And if you're going to use Gaza and Israel as an excuse to not vote Democratic, then you're going to be responsible for allowing a fascist government to take hold here. And I'd like to know who you think that's going to help. Do you think that the fascist government's going to go help the people in Palestine? The Palestinians? Do you think they're going to help the people in Gaza? I don't think so.
And by the way, one more thing, about Ukraine. I'm tired of hearing, the whole purity testing with, the Ukraine has Nazi sympathizers in its military. Just like Joe Biden can't control Netanyahu, he can't control Zelensky's forces, which, by the way, aren't, as a very small population, probably less than the Nazis in our military and our police force.
Are you aware of how many white supremacists are in our military? Are you also aware that when the Democrats filed a bill earlier this year to eradicate white supremacists and neo-Nazis from the police forces and the military in the United States, that the GOP killed that bill?
Right.
Be aware of that, my friends. So the next time they talk about Nazis in the Ukraine, remind them that they killed that bill here in the United States. And we have neo-Nazis and white supremacists all throughout our police force and our military. Okay? So
what I will say, because I didn't mention much of this in the Johnson, just like tying the funding to Israel to the IRS, he's talking about tying the funding to Zelensky and the Ukraine to Border Patrol. Okay.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So understand, they're two different issues. I'm not saying, and Tucker Carlson say, why does Mike Johnson care about a country all the way over there? We, for the most part, we focus on domestic issues because, number one, that directly affects us. And number two, that's what we can see. However, Deb and I both know that international policy, we don't live in a bubble. Deb said it over and over and over and over again.
This is a big world,
It's a big world. You have to deal with.
And the notion that we can just take this country, remove it from all of the worldwide systems that have been built over the years so we can become like 1776 again. If that's where you want to go, why don't you find yourself a little fucking island? Take your little Republican friends and go do that. Because I don't want to go there. All right. I'm not interested in that.
And just understand that guys like Steve Bannon, and yes, we covered Steve Bannon before, guys like Steve Bannon talking about isolationism and keeping us, we worry about our own country. Who's he reaching out to? He's reaching out to fascist leaders worldwide. Okay. So we have to have healthy relationships with other countries.
Yes, we do. Are we done?
So that, yeah, we're done. We're done. But next week, we're going to be talking about the Constitution and the Heritage Foundation's contradictory and, yes, hypocritical views of the Constitution. I don't know how much, their tome on it, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. I just want to do maybe an overview. I don't know if we're going to need 2 shows, maybe talk about the Bill of Rights and the early stuff, and then talk about the later amendments later. Understand that there are people out there in the GOP that want to take your voting rights away and say that, hey, the 17th Amendment saying that you can vote for your own senators, we shouldn't have that. We should have the state assemblies vote for them again.
Oh.
Understand that there are people out there saying that. I say, well, people generally aren't happy when you take stuff away from them. So, but something we should think about. No, it isn't.
Yeah. All right, gang. We will see you
Vote.
next.
Vote this Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's important.
And if you don't, and I see you complain, we're going to talk about the voting percentages as soon as those are available. But right now, I just want you to know that 314, okay? I want you to read my lips, Dave. Just released a poll that says that Republican voters are 7% more likely to vote next year than Democrats. You know what? If you want to keep that shit up,
right.
I can tell you right now, if that's the case, then you're looking at a fascist government.
Andy Bashir, okay? He probably will win, but Andy Bashir, vote for him. And also, Brandon Presley in Mississippi, we have a real shot to get rid of Tate Reeves. All right. You talk about corporate greed and corruption. Keep bringing up Brett Favre.
And not only that, why don't you go check out how many pregnant women died from COVID in his state, and how many pregnant women and their babies died in his state with his nonsense over mask mandates and vaccines.
I am not diminishing Virginia. If you have a state position, a state senator or assembly person, vote for them. Okay, you don't want to give Glenn Youngkin any more power than he possibly have. All right, you don't. And
if you vote smart, I got an email from Bernie Sanders, our revolution, by the way.
Yeah,
we could end up with a tie in the state Senate if they vote smart. And
right.
I think it's the House. I think it's the House, not the state.
Right. You can tie up. I believe they actually do have a trifecta right now, but you can affect that, right. And that's huge. That's huge for Youngkin. You don't stop him in his tracks, but you make it much more difficult to continue his garbage. And I cannot emphasize it enough. In Ohio, vote on that constitutional amendment. There's a trigger law in effect in regards to abortion that will eventually move right into place if you don't do something. You have a shot. You have a real chance to affect your state.
Look, you got enough signatures to get it on the ballot. Now vote, okay? Vote.
Shove states' rights right back in the GOP's face. Say, this is what we want. And shove it right back in their face. Because I guarantee you, they're gonna go back on their word like they always do, and then fight for codifying a national abortion ban.
They are going to. They already said they would. I believe when they say they're going to do it, I believe them.
Yep.
I have no reason not to.
Yep.
All right, gang. Next
we'll
week.
see you guys next week.